Hi all, we are the two officials of Lumiere, and this is our first guest talk of a series of talk series. So, Srijan Rajagouri has he was one of the top 50 photographers, and he has won many national as well as international awards. He is also an IIG recognized photographer. So I would like to hand over the mic.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm a bit late. I'm stuck in a photographic pursuit to be precise. Anyways, it's good to see so many young faces. Nice to see you all. And thank you, club and the Lumiere Club, for inviting me. And thank you all for spending your time to come here and listen to it. Before I start, let me tell you that this is not going to be a course or any crash course or anything. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share my views and my experiences, and would like to learn from you also. So it's going to be a two-way traffic rather than one. So that you don't expect any sort of a structured course-like thing in my talk. This is more like sharing. All of you can see me, right?
Yes.
That's okay. I'm not the important person. Okay. Important things will be there. So, before I start, could you please raise your hands? How many of you have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera? Okay, great. And how many of you take photographs in a regular manner using your phone? Okay, nice. So, taking into account all these, it seems that all of you are interested in photography. So that's great. That's a perfect start that I can expect. So, who am I? He already introduced Anurag. My apologies. She already introduced me. I call myself a photo artist. I'm not a photographer. I'm a photo artist. So I pursue photography in terms of art. Okay? So photography, there are two sides of photography. One is the documentation side, another is the art side. I'm not saying that there is no common ground between that, but my main interest in the art form. Okay? And I have been doing photography for a very long time, even when I was younger than you guys. Since, to be precise, 1994 I got my first SLR, and then, okay, it's a long journey. So today, I'm going to show you some of my photographs and share with you the experiences, and most important of all, I would expect questions from you. If you have any, please feel free to ask whatever questions you have, and I'll be more than happy to answer. So, as you can see, it's a capturing the world, a journey through travel and nature photography. So, the world means anything, that is anything around you. It can be your own institute, your home, a place you love to visit, something that somewhere or other emotionally charges you. For example, if you see a child labor, okay, and you feel like, okay, the child labor is an issue which is very close to my heart and I must tackle it through my artistic pursuit, then that's also captured in your world. Okay? I personally, there are many genres of photography, and I personally practice these two genres in a very serious manner. These are my favorite genres. One is travel and another is nature. So a travel photography means actually wherever you go, there are certain characters of that particular place. Again, that may be your hometown, that may be someplace far away from your hometown. But there are certain characters, and that characters can be in the flora and fauna, It can be in the people, it can be in the landmarks, it can be in the geological features, it can be in anything. The point is, can you tell a story? So remember this particular word story. In photography, if there is no story, that's rubbish. Unless you are documenting something. For example, all of you are students or wiser, so you must be working in your labs and you must be documenting things. So that's a different thing. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that's not art. Art of photography is all about telling stories. How good you are in telling stories. So that's what I'm going to tell you about. So the first thing that you must have, this is must. There is no option. You must develop a photographic eye. What is mean by photographic eye? Now, I don't want to be very academic on this, but as you know, many of you, that our viewing angle is about 52 degrees. So with our two eyes, we about see 52 degrees. So if you just draw two lines making an angle of 52 degrees, whatever is there, you can see that, right? But another point is, our eye has a very special feature. We can easily focus on something near and completely ignoring the back. Or I can, as for example, right now I can see each and every face of yours, but I can easily focus on the lady just who introduced me without even bothering about the rest. But that particular property is not available in a camera. So the camera and the lens, to be precise, it sees things differently, not as your eyes see. So the first thing you have to learn is how a camera sees things, and that's what we call developing a photographic eye. Your eye becomes a part of the camera. Okay? So the first thing is, by the way, if you're interested, you can always take photographs of these slides, no problem, but please do not take photographs of the photographs. Okay? So the first thing is look for the patterns, textures and contrasts. So if any of these terms baffles you, please raise your hand. I'll be explaining, otherwise I'll just skip and go to the next one. Use the rule of thirds, but don't be afraid to break. What is the rule of third? A rule of third is the most simplest form of composing a photograph. Composition means in a photograph you have elements or an element, okay, with which you make it. So how you place that particular element in a frame, that's what we call composition. The first and the most simplest form of composition is a rule of third. It's very simple. You can do it in your mind. Simply in the whole thing, the sensor or whatever you're seeing in the viewfinder, just divide the whole viewfinder in 3 lines. I'll show you. And you can place objects accordingly. I'll show you that. There's a slide on that. Then frame subjects creatively. Consider foreground elements, leading lines and reflections. And finally, observe light. Photography means painting with light. So observe light. Without light, there is no photograph. I'll give you a very classical example that whenever I teach photography to any of my students, the first thing I say, can you photograph a black cat in a completely dark room? Can any one of you answer? Is it possible? Completely dark room, a black cat. Can you? Answer is no. Because there is no light. So photography is all about painting with light. Either there will be natural light or you have to bring the light with you. Okay? So I'll show you some examples on these 3 or 4 points that I have laid out. This is one. Can you see the textures? I don't know how, it's pretty good. Can you see the textures? Yeah, so these are the textures. I was looking for the textures. And look how the whole thing is shaped by the light. Can you see the pointer? Can you see these portions? If anyone is from biology, you can tell what the name of this. Sorry, I can't name the parts of elephant. But these skull part, can you see that there is a darkness, then there is light. And this is how the whole thing is shaped. It's looking 3-dimensional, but it's not 3-dimensional. So this is how a light shapes things. And that's look at the texture on the trunk. Can you see the textures on the skin and the trunk? So that's light did it. I didn't. I only found it out. Okay? As a photographer, that's my job. It's very common, right? You know what is this? What is this? Who can tell me? Yeah, right. But have you seen Taj Mahal like this? Have you seen ever? Yeah, because that I told you that one point was add foreground interest. See, this is the foreground interest. You haven't seen it. You have never seen it. You've never seen Taj Mahal like this. But that's what is called developing a photographic eye. You see differently. Okay? So, if I delve a little deeper in the role of light in photography, so the first thing you should know, the two terms, I've written one, I forgot to write another. One is a golden hour. Okay, it's said that photographers chase light. Yes, actually we do chase light. We literally run behind light because light changes so fast. Once you start photographing seriously, you will understand how important it is. So the first thing is golden light. A golden light is just during the sunrise or sunset. That's called a golden light. Okay? You will see that the light is very warm. It's more yellowish. So in a Kelvin term, the color temperature is pretty high. And after that, or before that, I mean during the dawn, before the sun rises, you'll see that there's a lot of blue in the sky. And just the same thing happens when the sun sets. There's a lot of blue in the sky. So that's called a blue hour. These two typical light conditions are very important for us. Then overcast. Overcast means a lot of cloud in the sky. So what happens when a cloud is there? The main source of light for us is the sun, right? That's the main light source that we have. A cloud acts as a large diffuser. You understand the term diffuser, right? Whatever the word means, that's how it is used. Diffuser. It simply spreads the light over. It softens it. So, an overcast day is ideal for shooting portraits because you avoid shadows, ugly shadows. If you take any of your friends' photograph in your mobile camera, it doesn't matter whether you're using a DSLR or a mobile. Even if you take a photograph of your friend under the sun, you will see there will be shadows here, okay, here, and under the eyes of the subject. So these are ugly things. They don't add anything aesthetically to a photograph. We don't want that. We avoid that. So try to avoid that. Okay? And the third is backlighting can create a dramatic silhouettes. It's a French word. These French people, I don't know why they spell things like this. But anyways, it's a silhouette or enhance the transparency in leaves or water. So backlighting means, normally when you start doing photography, the first thing, many books will tell you, many commonly available books, that keep the sun or the source behind you. Okay? But that's the most unimpressive way of photographing things. When the sun is behind you, it's hitting the subject directly. The subject loses all its character. As I have shown you in the first photograph. You remember the two elephants? The sun was not behind me. Had it been that, you wouldn't have seen the textures. The textures would have been completely gone. It would have been flat. There would be no dimension in it. Okay? It seemed like a sticker. That's not very interesting. So, backlighting is when you face the sun and the sun is behind your subject. It's difficult, but believe me, it's one of the most satisfying thing to use as a light source. I'll show you some examples. This is a golden hour. Okay? This was shot in Kolkata, in my hometown, and that's the second Hooghly Bridge. If those who are from Kolkata, they know it very well. So that's River Hooghly, and so that's a golden hour, right? Okay. This is a backlighting scenario. This sun is the setting sun, okay? And this is a snail. So if you look carefully, unfortunately, that due to the projection thing, in these areas, can you see a light definition? Something, it's there, a bright light streak. So it's actually defining the whole thing. Okay? And had it been a better resolution monitor, you could see that light was passing through the semi-transparent body of the snail, giving a very ethereal look. So this is a backlighting scenario, and even in these zones, you will see a very small spots of, rather streaks of the late, the last sun rays. So this is a very interesting light scenario. Again, without backlighting, this is not possible. So after these two main slides, the main thing is what you can take home is learn to see like your camera does. This is a very, very important part, one of the cardinal points of photography. Now, the essential gear. As you can see, my gears are over here. It's part of my gear, to be honest. This is the camera that I use right now. It's a mirrorless camera. But you can always have a DSLR, or if you are really interested in photography, get hold of a DSLR. That's the least you can do. Okay, but still, smartphones are good. I mean, good smartphones are they are very capable. These are the two lenses right now. As I said, I went for photographing something, but anyway, so I carry two lenses. I have other lenses. So here, the essential thing is you must have a camera. Now the cameras in the market, there are of two types. One is called a crop sensor camera, and there is a called full sensor, full body. Okay, so this is the sensor size of this camera. This is a full frame camera. The sensor size, the diagonally, it's 35 millimeter. It's same as the old films. And have you ever seen old films, negatives? Any of you? Could you please raise your hands who have seen the films? Okay, great. So in the film gauge, that used to be called a gauge, the diagonal measurement was 35 millimeter. Okay? So the same measurement the sensor of this camera has. So this is a full frame camera. But there are other cameras which have a smaller sensor. That's called a crop sensor camera. Nikon calls it DX, Canon also calls it something. So get hold of any of these cameras. Okay? Lenses, this is a wide angle lens. Now this is, to be precise, this is an ultra wide angle lens. Right now we generally go for zooms. We do not use prime lenses anymore because zoom lenses are very good. So this is a 14mm to 30mm lens. This is mainly used for landscapes and architecture photography. This is my go-to lens. This is a 2420mm lens. This is a go-to lens. Whenever I go, I don't know what I'm going to face. This is the lens I carry. Okay? So this 120mm is perfect for the portraiture or anything, and 24mm is pretty wide to take landscapes. And I also have a telephoto lens, which is about 500mm for wildlife, and a macro lens. I didn't bring those lenses. Macro lenses are very specialized lenses. They are used to capture objects of the same size. So 1:1. Okay? You understand these things. I hope you are all studying in ISIS. There won't be any problem. And the accessories. I have one tripod here. This is my tripod case. It has a tripod. I carry a carbon fiber tripod because it's lighter. So having a good tripod is very important if you're interested in landscape photography, night photography. But please do not try to save money on tripod, because tripods are a very weird thing. If you buy cheap, be rest assured it will increase shake. So tripods are used to stabilize the camera. So it itself has to be a very stabilized thing. Okay, so don't go for any cheap thing. Save your money, go for a better tripod. If you don't have a tripod, you are still trying to photograph. I'll show you a very simple technique. It's very simple. Just hold your camera like this. Always place your left hand. If you're left-handed, I mean, the cameras are basically right-handed. So place your left hand beneath the camera in such a manner so the center of gravity acts through your palm, and just dig in your elbows in your under your rib like this. Okay, and don't hold your breath, or do not take heavy. Don't breathe heavily either. So just small increments, and then take your photograph, or you can always lean to something like this. This is a very useful technique. Just lean and then take your photograph. Okay, so that gives a lot of stability if you don't have a good tripod. So that's my setup. I've already shown you, so I'm not going into detail. So landscape, I told you that this is what I use for a landscape, and that's me doing a sort of a bird photography. That's my gear with the telephoto lens attached in North Bengal. So this is important. Be minimalistic. Do not carry everything with you. It's too heavy. And if it becomes heavy, it becomes cumbersome, you cannot concentrate on the art of photography. Try to pre-visualize. For example, you are going, say for example, you are going in Gurudwara, right? There are many Gurudwaras in the life. So going in a Gurudwara, what type of images can you imagine? It can be an architectural image of the Gurudwara, or it can be people, right? Or a mix of it, portrait. So you don't need any telephoto lens. Don't take any telephoto, don't carry a heavy telephoto lens with you. No point. Okay? So what you want to photograph, pre-visualize and choose to get accordingly. Be minimalistic, that's very important. This is the today the most technical part I am going to visit, because what I have seen in many of my students who learn photography from me, that the first thing they don't understand how these digital sensors behave. See, the digital sensors, the light is an analog signal, correct? But the digital sensor, as the name suggests, it doesn't see things in an analog manner. It sees it digitally, right? So there has to be a conversion. Okay, so how does a sensor see light? The sensor, remember this is very important. The sensor always tries to change the brightest of a scene to 18% gray. So the gray there is a different percentage. I'm not going in detail of that. You can simply do a Google search, you'll find a lot of technical literature on this. So I'm not going with that, but it tries to turn it into 18% gray. Now, I hope you understand that white is brighter than gray, right? It's brighter. Similarly, when it says a black, it tries to turn it to an 18% gray. But black is darker than gray, right? So what we say is this: if there is a bright thing in your scene, the camera will always try to reduce the exposure. But if there is predominantly black in your scene, it will try to pull up the exposure. But in that way, camera is actually messing up with the whole thing. There is no camera built yet that cannot or does not do this. That's the only way it does. So you, as a photographer, you have to remember that these three things control your exposure. These are called the exposure triangle: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. What is an aperture? You see, this lens, if I take the cap off, you can see the opening, right? But this is not the whole thing that the camera always uses. Here there is a blend. Okay? So that blend actually controls the opening of the lens, or allows how much light should go in. That's you do it. Either through the camera body or through the lens. So that's called an aperture. Second is the shutter speed. How long you expose, you keep the sensor open for the light. So how long the sensor receives the light, for how long? Okay, so that's called the shutter speed. It's generally measured in seconds. Okay, it generally measures in seconds. Different cameras have a maximum shutter speed to a minimum shutter speed. So for example, my camera, it has a maximum shutter speed of 900 seconds. So I can keep the shutter open for 900 seconds. But in general, cameras do not have that much long. But there is something called the bulb mode, where you can keep the shutter open as long as you want. Okay, so that problem has been faced. Third is the ISO. This carry forward from the film era. In the film, the emulsion that was used on the film, its sensitivity to light was fixed. It was fixed under standards called ISO or ASA, American Standard Authority. These are same things. Americans have a very bad habit of calling things in a different name. I don't know why. So anyway, so that this in the digital era, this ISO simply tells you how sensitive your sensor is to the incoming light. Lower the value, the lower the sensitivity. Higher the value, more is the sensitivity. Okay? So for example, my camera, this has a native sensitivity, lowest native sensitivity is 64, ISO 64, and the maximum is 25,600. So I can change the sensitivity of the camera's sensor just by rotating a dial. Okay, so So when these three things they come together, this one exposure triangle. Your job as a photographer is to get the white right. So to get the white right, remember that 18% rule. So whenever you are composing a shot, you are trying to expose a particular scene, always remember that the camera is changing the brightest point to 18% gray and the darkest point to 18% gray. If the brighter things are the main things in your camera, try to overexpose. Otherwise, the white won't be white anymore. For example, you are taking a shot of an egret. How many of you know what is an egret? It's a bird, a white bird with a complete white feather. So let's say you have a egret anywhere near a pond. It's very bright. It's white. So if you point your camera, the camera will instantly reduce the exposure. It will show you in the meter. It will show you that meter in which that white egret became 18% egret. Okay? So there you have to increase it, the exposure, to get the white back. Do I make myself clear? The same goes for, say you are photographing a crow. I don't know how many of you have you ever tried photographing a crow? Nobody has been. Hello, you did try. Great. So crow is pure black. Okay? So you're trying to get a crow in your camera, it's going to overexpose. The black won't be black anymore, it will be grey. So you need to underexpose to get the black right. Did you get this part? This is the toughest part of my talk, believe me, the most technical part. Rest will be easy. Am I going too fast or is it okay with you guys? Okay?
Yes.
So this is one very important example. Can you tell me which is the brightest part of this image?
The grass.
Beg your pardon?
Is it the grass?
No, not the grass, the snow. The snow. Remember, snow is something that fools even the most expensive camera. It's snow. It reflects a lot of light. It's white. So as a photographer, my challenge was to get it white. Is it white? Does it appear white to you? Indeed it is, because I can see it on my monitor. There's some color cast is there due to projection. But believe me, it's white. Okay? Actually, whatever I'm telling you in previous slides, I'll show you some examples which are relevant to them. So next comes the composition. There are 7 composition rules. There are myriad number of rules. Forget about them. These are the 7 most important composition rules. If you wish, you can take a photograph of this. The first one is the rule of thirds that I've already discussed a little bit. Then there is golden rectangle, golden spiral, leading lines, S-curve, negative space, and symmetry, and center composition. One of my very recent students, she asked me a very interesting question. She said, how can I remember all these composition rules when I'm taking photographs on the field? And she's absolutely right, you can't. So, you have to train your eye to see these compositions, to find this composition. These are like, puzzles. You have done jigsaw puzzles when you were young, right? So these are the jigsaw puzzles. In every photograph that you want to take, these compositions are there, hidden. Point is, can you find it? Okay? So, to train yourself, the important thing is see photographs of other artists. Artists, I mean those who are established artists. I'm not talking about social media people. Please. Instagram more or less ruined photography as far as the art is concerned. But still, there are very good photographers who are serious photographers who can be found on these accounts, social media accounts, or mostly they have their own websites. So these websites are freely viewable. Go and view these websites. There are many photographic societies in the whole world, like FIFA for football. The largest society for photographers is FIA, of which I am also a member, and I've been distinguished by FIA also, that I know photographers. So these are distinctions that FIA confers. So you can go to FIA website. This website is not that good, but still you will find exhibitions that are held all over the world under the aegis of FIA. you will find a great photo